hey, great work. Everyone is accountable, including the king. Skip, I want to know your takeaway, though, from the Tyronn Lue interview.
Yeah, let me echo what Molly just said, Stephen A. Well done. Good job, as usual.
Thank you. Thank you.
I got to tell you, when the words we just heard came out of Tyronn Lue's mouth, when did I see it first? On 6 o'clock Sports Center. Wow, seriously, no kidding, I got chills, and I just got chills again. Those were powerful words uttered with utterly believable conviction, where he just flat out, there was no hesitation. Forgive me, I'm slightly paraphrasing, but he's saying, I have to hold LeBron James accountable in front of the team. And look, we know that Tyronn worked for David Blatt last year, respects him, has nothing but respect for him, feels a little uncomfortable with the situation he got thrust into at the expense of David Blatt. But let's be clear about this. Between the lines, he's saying that LeBron either wouldn't, or let's do it backwards. Let's say David Blatt couldn't make LeBron respect him. He just wasn't capable of that, and Ty Lue is capable of that because, as you well know, Stephen A., Tyronn has known LeBron since LeBron was 17 years of age, and LeBron knows deep down Tyronn Lue was a former first-round draft choice in this league, and I know he bounced around, but he was a good player for a long time in this league, earned great respect, was a defensive coordinator under Doc Rivers, and as he told you, Doc had him play the bad cop role. That Ty Lue has that gift. It's a gift, man. You can't teach it or coach it. That he can go to the stars and look them in the eye and say, basically, you're better than that. I need you to do this because you know that's what's best for us as a team. You're the leader, so you need to do this. I believe he can pull it off with LeBron. I believe that even though, he might get some pushback at certain times from LeBron's inner circle, maybe LeBron won't always love this, but you can't have a winning situation. You're not going to win a championship if you have a David Blatt on the bench and LeBron is ignoring him to the point that LeBron is taking himself out of games and putting himself back in games without even informing the head coach. He's just doing it on his own. Trust me, that will not happen with Tyronn Lue for the betterment of this team. So I think everybody's going to respect the position of the head coach far more, starting with LeBron James. And I see a much higher ceiling for this team with Ty Lue running this team.
Well, let me say this. First of all, I would say to you that I found him impressive, but I've known Tyronn Lue a little bit before I did the interview yesterday. I remember walking in there and some producers was like, he's relatively quiet and, Stephen A., I don't know if he's going to say anything to you. I was like, no, that's not the Tyronn Lue I know. Tyronn Lue is a man that will tell you exactly where he stands and exactly how he feels, and there's no BS to him. He is what he is, and he's just not going to apologize for it. That's the way he's always been. I knew him that way, even though we never really talked that much. I knew him that way when he was with the Lakers. I've known him that way when he was in the NBA. He was on 7 different teams throughout his 11-year career. When he was coaching under Doc Rivers, he was that way. And I found it very interesting that he said that he had to be the bad guy, not just with KG, Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, but specifically with Rajon Rondo. And then when he was in L.A., he had to be it to some degree with Blake Griffin. And, you talked about that during the interview as well. I don't know if they aired that part, but the point that I'm trying to make to you is that this is a familiar position with him. And one of the things that really rubbed him the wrong way, and I don't blame him one bit, is when you hear the coaching fraternity getting at him, he understands what it's about because the coaching fraternity is going to protect coaches. They're all a bit ruffled and rattled because to get to the NBA Finals and then the very next season to have a 30-11 record and be the #1 seed in the Eastern Conference and lose your job at that time, they're looking at it from a professional perspective and saying, damn, if Blatt isn't safe, how can any of us be? But Tyronn Lue was very offended at the notion that anybody would think that somehow, some way he slithered his way in. And then when I spoke to David Griffin, the general manager, he reminded me that Tyronn Lue was the #2 candidate. That Tyronn Lue was the highest paid assistant because it was destiny that this is something that was inevitable. It was going to happen. It's just that the Cavs as an organization was waiting for the right time. Well, one of the reasons why had nothing to do with his relationship with LeBron James. It had everything to do with his relationship with the aforementioned players that I mentioned and how he was willing to hold them accountable. And when I spoke to Doc Rivers earlier this week, actually Friday to be exact, when Tyronn Lue got the job, he specifically said to me, Tyronn Lue has the ability to get in your face and tell you what the deal is and hold you accountable and be assertive without offending you. He said everybody doesn't have that gift as an assistant coach, but he does. And so now here we are. And he looked at this and he said, listen, we're not out of shape. People misconstrued when I said we got to get in shape. We're not out of shape. It's just that as the season progresses and as we watch what's transpiring in the NBA, in order for us to win, we're going to have to play differently. So we're in basketball shape if we're playing the style that we've been playing. But if we play the style I want us to play, we're going to have to get in better shape. And that also starts with LeBron. And I have to be able to get on LeBron, and I have to be able to hold him accountable because he can't, or no one else can look at me and talk about how I need to hold these other guys accountable if I can't hold the star accountable. So he understands the pressure that comes with it. He said it flat out, it's championship or bust. They've got to win the chip. You know, he's got a guaranteed deal for the rest of this year, next year as well, and then the team has an option after next season at $3.5 million. He understands the mandate that if you are a coach and you don't win a championship with LeBron James on your squad, you have failed. That is the way that he is looking at it, despite what he's seeing from San Antonio and, of course, the Golden State Warriors. So I just think it's a good position for him to be in. He could have worse jobs, that's for sure. But it's also admirable that he's willing to accept the responsibility that comes with it, and he has a no-nonsense approach. And Skip, he sounds just like a protege of Doc Rivers.
He does.
Because every word he said, the Doc Rivers that I have known for over a decade, that sounded just like Doc Rivers.
Okay.
Those words that he said is exactly something that Doc Rivers would say.
Okay. Question to wrap this up.
Yep.
Big picture. We look back at LeBron's history with coaches in the NBA. He's had some issues along the trail. Mike Brown, there were times the media thought, uh-oh, Mike Brown's in trouble because LeBron's not sold on him. LeBron's always had an excuse maybe with some of these coaches. Early, Eric Spoelstra, maybe an excuse there. Is Spoelstra up to the task as a first-time head coach? And then obviously with David Blatt last year. So here's the question. Will LeBron James long-term allow Tyronn Lue to continue to hold him accountable in front of the team? Will that work?
Yes, it will, for two reasons. I think that Tyronn Lue has the relationship with him and the players and the support of the organization to pull it off. And number two, and more importantly, unlike any other situation before, LeBron has no choice. Let's analyze this. Paul Silas is your first coach, a veteran NBA lifer on his way out. Basically, that's what it was when LeBron James got there. So he was there, but he was on his way out. Okay, Bernie Bickerstaff in the middle, but Bernie Bickerstaff also a lifer.
He was,
but deemed beyond his prime, which I don't believe with because I believe Bernie Bickerstaff knows some basketball. Okay, but that was the mentality, and they were never going to give him the head coaching job. So then they bring in Mike Brown, first-time coach. That's not ideal for LeBron. Then you go to Miami. LeBron initially wanted to be coached by Pat Riley. He didn't want to be coached by Eric Spoelstra because Eric Spoelstra was a first-time coach. So it took Dwayne Wade intervening along with Pat Riley saying, trust us on this. And now Eric Spoelstra is one of the bright young coaches, but he had the support of Pat Riley. And then now you come to Cleveland and it's David Blatt. LeBron James periodically has asked himself, damn, when do I get a Pat Riley, a Phil Jackson, a Larry Brown, a Greg Popovich? How come so many of these guys have the luxury and the pleasure of playing for veterans who have shown them the way? But I literally have to do on-the-job training because they keep giving me these first-time coaches. The difference with Tyronn Lue and everybody else is LeBron's relationship with him and the way LeBron consistently leaned on him throughout the David Blatt era eradicates and omits the potential excuses that supposedly would exist if something goes wrong with Lue. LeBron doesn't get to do that. That's his guy. And because that's your guy, who you respect, who you confided in, who's been the defensive coordinator for this team for the last year and a half, and's got the #3 defense in the NBA. That's your guy. You have to perform for him, and you have to march in lockstep with him. Otherwise, that's all going to be on LeBron. It's not going to be on Tyronn Lue. That much is for sure.
Maybe Tyronn Lue will be lucky 7. It appears that way. He's the 7th head coach in 13 seasons. Again, tremendous work by you, Stephen A. There's great insight there. We just showed a snippet of the interview. If you want to see it in its entirety, you can check it out on ESPN.com. It's there right now. Stephen sitting down with Tyronn Lue. Remember these strong comments from Peyton Manning after an Al Jazeera report connected him to